Okon, a 20-year-old boy, was born and raised in the village of Karaba. He came from a humble family, where hard work and perseverance were the keys to survival. His parents, both hardworking and determined, did everything to provide for him. They were poor, but they had everything they needed, a small plot of land and a strong sense of family. But Okon, unlike his parents, was different. He was lazy and preferred dreaming of wealth rather than working for it. Every time his parents asked him to help with the farm or do something around the house, he would groan and find a way to avoid it. His family had often warned him, "Okon, stop sitting around and start working. A lazy person will never go far." But Okon ignored their advice. He wanted an easy life, one without sweat or struggle. He always dreamed of marrying a wealthy woman who could provide for him, just like the rich men in the village. One fateful day, a car drove into the village. It was loud, shiny, and out of place among the simple huts and dirt roads. Aini, a 50-year-old woman from the city, stepped out. Her clothes were extravagant, and her jewelry sparkled in the sun. She wasn't beautiful by conventional standards, her face was old, her body large, but her wealth was evident in every aspect of her being. Okon, who had always dreamed of a rich life, was immediately drawn to her. He watched her as she walked into the market, feeling a deep desire to get to know her. She was exactly what he had been waiting for, a chance to escape his life of hard work, ignoring the warnings of his family and friends, who told him she was too old for him and not a good match. Okon decided to approach her. He wanted to secure his future, no matter the cost. Against his family's wishes, Okon married Aini. The ceremony was simple, with Okon dressed in a modest suit and Aini in an elegant, expensive gown. The people in the village couldn't understand why he would marry such an unattractive woman. They warned him repeatedly, "She's too old, Okon. She'll use you. Don't be a fool." But Okon, desperate to avoid a life of poverty, turned a deaf ear to their concerns. Aini was wealthy, and that was all that mattered to him. He didn't see the manipulation coming. It didn't take long for Okon to realize the truth about his new life. Instead of living in luxury, he was treated like a servant. Aini made him do all the housework. He cleaned, cooked, and even washed her underwear. She would sit back, enjoying her wealth, while he labored away, his spirit slowly breaking. Okon had no choice but to obey. He didn't want to go back to poverty, so he endured the humiliation. Aini was ruthless, treating him like her personal houseboy. She even made him kneel and bend so she could use him as a footstool while she sat comfortably in her chair. As the weeks passed, Okon began to feel the toll of his decision. He became sick, his body weakened from the constant abuse, the lack of food, and the relentless work. Aini, however, didn't care. She pushed him away to the boys' quarters, neglecting him as she went out with other men, enjoying her wealth and power. Okon lay in bed, his body frail and his mind full of regret. "Had I known," he whispered through tears, "I would have left laziness and hustled on my own." But it was too late. His dreams of an easy life had turned into a nightmare, and there was no escaping the consequences. Months had passed since Okon married Aini, and his family's worst fears had come true. They could no longer watch him suffer in silence. His mother, father, and siblings gathered in the village square, determined to speak to him. "Okon, we warned you," his mother said, her voice breaking. "You could have made something of yourself, worked hard, and been a man. But you chose laziness, and now look at you. Look at what you've become." His father nodded solemnly. "We told you to be useful, to hustle, to work. But you refused. You've let this woman control you, and now you're nothing more than a servant in your own home." Okon stood at the door of his house, looking out at his family. He felt a deep shame, but he was too proud to return. His pride had led him here. He had chosen the easy way out, and now he had to live with the consequences. The days grew longer and more unbearable for Okon. Aini's cruelty knew no bounds. She would often order him to kneel and serve her, using him as a footstool while she relaxed in her comfortable chair. She mocked him constantly, calling him lazy and useless, even though it was her abuse that had broken him. "Get up, lazy boy," she would sneer. You'll never amount to anything if you keep this up. You should be thankful I'm even letting you stay here. Okon's body was becoming weaker, and the mental strain was too much to bear. Yet, he continued to submit to her. He didn't want to go back to poverty. He didn't want to face the shame of his family's warnings, so he endured the endless humiliations. While Okon lay suffering, Aini continued to live her life of luxury. She went out to clubs with other men, laughing and enjoying the attention. Her life was full of excitement, with expensive drinks and lavish nights out. She didn't care about Okon's condition. He was nothing more than a tool to her, a servant to be used and discarded. Okon, however, was slowly dying inside. His body grew weaker with each passing day. The stress, the neglect, the abuse, it was all too much for him. He lay in the boys' quarters, unable to do anything but cry in silence. In the silence of the boys' quarters, Okon's condition grew worse. He had no strength left. His body, neglected and broken, could no longer withstand the abuse. He lay on his bed, his breath ragged and his body covered in sweat. His eyes were heavy with regret. Had I known, he whispered, his voice barely a whisper, I would have left laziness and hustled on my own. But it was too late. There was no way to undo the damage he had done to his life. His dreams of luxury had become his worst nightmare. As he closed his eyes for the last time, Aini was out at a club, dancing and laughing with other men, completely unaware of the man she had destroyed. Okon's tragic end serves as a painful lesson to others. The pursuit of wealth and the desire for an easy life can lead to a downfall far worse than any hardship. His laziness, his refusal to work, and his greed for a life of luxury all contributed to his demise. His family had warned him, but he had ignored their advice, choosing a life of submission over the hard work that could have set him free. Okon's story is a tragic reminder that the road to success is paved with hard work, sacrifice, and wisdom. Those who seek shortcuts and easy answers often find themselves lost in regret, just like Okon. As Okon lay in bed, suffering from his illness and the abuse, his mind drifted to the past. He remembered the countless conversations with his family, his parents trying to teach him the value of hard work, the importance of self-reliance. They had urged him time and time again. Okon, you need to work, hustle, and build your future. Don't waste time dreaming of easy ways out. The easy road doesn't exist. In these flashbacks, Okon could see his father toiling in the fields, his mother working tirelessly to care for the family. Their lives weren't easy, but they had pride and dignity in their labor. Okon had rejected that path, preferring to sit idly by, dreaming of wealth and luxury that didn't require work. Now, in his final moments, he realized how foolish he had been. All the warnings, all the love from his family, it had fallen on deaf ears. He had chosen the path of laziness, and now he was paying the price. Meanwhile, Aini continued her life of luxury, completely indifferent to Okon's suffering. She threw lavish dinner parties for wealthy men, enjoying the best food, the finest wines, and the most extravagant gifts. The men around her lavished attention on her, admiring her wealth and power, while she paid no mind to Okon, who was now a shadow of the man he once was. At home, he thought of the time he could have spent building a life of his own, instead of relying on a woman who had no love for him. Had I known, he murmured weakly, I would have left laziness and hustled on my own. His breath grew even shallower as his final moments approached. The pain in his chest was unbearable, but it was nothing compared to the pain in his heart. He knew he would die, and there would be no one to mourn him. He had chosen wealth over family, comfort over hard work, and now he was alone, his life slipping away in the very place where his dreams had been shattered. Aini's life continued without a second thought for Okon. After he passed, she carried on with her luxurious lifestyle, going to expensive restaurants, staying in lavish hotels, and enjoying her wealth with new men. The pain and suffering she caused him meant nothing to her. She continued buying clothes and jewelry, living a life of indulgence, her conscience untouched by the tragedy that had unfolded in her own home. Okon's death had no impact on her, as he had been nothing more than a tool for her, an object to serve her needs until he was no longer of use. Okon's life was a tragic example of the dangers of laziness, greed, and misplaced ambition. He had rejected the values of his family, believing that wealth could be earned without effort, and in the end, it cost him everything. His final words serve as a painful reminder: the easy way out is often the hardest path to walk. Those who seek shortcuts often find themselves in places they can never escape from. His family, though devastated by his choices, would carry on the lessons they had always taught him. They would work hard, honor their struggles, and build their future with integrity. Okon's life ended in regret, but his story would live on, a warning to anyone who sought to take the easy way out. As we reach the end of Okon's tragic story, remember that life is shaped by the choices we make. Don't follow the path of laziness or greed. Build your future with hard work and integrity. If you found this story impactful, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening stories, life lessons, and advice. Hit the like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your support means a lot, and we'll continue bringing you meaningful content that can help change lives. Thank you for watching.